Hello and welcome to Blue Army TV. I'm sitting here after Carlisle have just won away from home at Morecambe in, what is quite possibly a bit of a shock result for me. It's the first time in over 2 years that we've won back-to-back league games. And we finally get that stupid record off our back of going a record amount of games without winning back-to-back games. But, results elsewhere kind of went our way. Tranmere pulled off a quite honestly remarkable comeback against Accrington Stanley to draw 3-3 with goals from Amari Patrick, 2 for him and 1 for Christian Dennis, some ex-Carlisle players kind of helping us out, because I'd agree that Accrington are the worst of the two teams, but and ultimately we're probably more likely to catch them, but with Tranmere having much worse goal difference, it's easier for us to catch them that way. It would kind of been a bit better if either team had won that game. Obviously it drags another team into the relegation battle in Tranmere, but look, I'd much rather a draw than an Accrington win, that's what I'll say. And it now leaves us 6 points from safety with a much worse goal difference than Accrington Stanley, I will say that much. So it's we probably need to gain 7 points on Accrington Stanley with 4 games left, which, look, that's a very big ask, because it means that we probably have to win 3 of our remaining 4 games to have a chance of staying up, and that's assuming that Accrington Stanley don't win any of them, which, to be fair, the form they're in, that's entirely possible. But yeah, look, and obviously one of those games is against us that Accrington Stanley has. But yeah, it's frustrating, because I think if we had more games of this season, let's just say this season was 56 games, not 46, I think we'd probably stay up. But this revival's come a little bit too late for my liking. Maybe we absolutely batter Accrington Stanley. Maybe we beat them by 5 goals, which, they've been beaten by that many quite recently, and maybe we overturn that goal difference, obviously gaining 5 for us and making them 5 worse off, which might not even be enough to turn around that goal difference, and maybe we win our 3 games, and maybe they get absolutely stuffed every game and that goal difference quickly turns around, I don't know, but look, we're more than likely going to have to win 3 of our last 4. And with top of the league Port Vale coming up, that's maybe a bit of a big ask. If we beat Port Vale next week and all of a sudden the gap's 3 points and we're playing Accrington Stanley next, then I start to believe. Then I start to believe that it's possible, especially if they get absolutely thumped next week and we maybe win by a couple of goals. Look, it's a huge ask, considering we haven't won back-to-back games in over 2 years, and I'm now asking us to possibly win 4 on the bounce. That's a very, very big ask, and I understand that, but I'm just glad we're not out of it by now, because at this point last season, I think we were already relegated. I'm just glad we've got a little bit of fight in us, because at one point this season, it didn't look like we were even going to go down without a fight. And look, we've clawed a little bit back, we've done what we could do today. It's a clean sheet, it's 2 very good goals, and can I just say, that referee today, what on earth is he playing at? Look, I know we won, but we definitely should have had a penalty in the first half from that Fusée kind of cut back where the Morecambe player just grabs hold of his leg while he's on the floor. I almost don't mind poor refereeing as long as they're poor for both teams, but that referee today just looked incredibly biased, and that's what I don't like in referees. It's not... With referees at this division, I kind of know they're not going to be the best, but if you're going to be terrible and you're going to have a bad day at the office, at least don't be biased. At least be poor for both teams. Don't just give one team everything. Give one team all of the decisions. And it looked like he was a real homer today, because I don't know what it was, but look, ultimately it doesn't come back to bite us, but it definitely could have. Imagine we live to regret that penalty. Imagine we go down because of one piece of goal difference that we could have got back from that penalty that we should have been given in the first half. I know they're big ifs, and I know ultimately it probably won't mean much, but if you don't call out these poor refereeing performances, something Oldham, I think his name was, he was absolutely woeful today, and I know that's... And I can say that, and I know it doesn't really seem consequential because we won, and it didn't mean anything, but on another day that it might not have been the case, and on other days it hasn't been the case for us. So I need to call out poor refereeing when I see it, and I think everybody does, no matter whether they benefit from it or if they kind of don't. It's important that we call out poor refereeing in this division, because ultimately it's going to come back to bite us at some point. And it just makes for a poorer product. It makes lower league football a poorer product if the referees are going to act like that, like the referee did today. And there were multiple decisions that he made that I'm like, I don't even disagree with the decision. I just don't understand it whatsoever. It's not as if I see what he's given it's not as if a tackle's been made and he thinks it's a foul and I don't, and it's kind of a bit of an argument. A lot of the times I just didn't completely understand what he was even given. He would just randomly give fouls in the middle of like pass and play, and I was like, okay, it's not the fact that I disagree with a decision you've made. It's the fact that I'm so confused as to what you're even doing. Like, that's what it was today with that referee. And I know most of the fans will agree with me on that. And even Morecambe fans, I think you could even agree that it was just weird, some of the decisions he was making. Yes, they might have benefited Morecambe. I think my dad put it best. He was like, he would let go of the first foul, but like it was almost like, he'd let a 50-50 go. And then the tackle immediately after that, he would give a free kick, no matter what happened. Odd, definitely odd. But look, today, Jack Ellis, the Cumbrian Trent, 2 assists, 2 fantastic balls. The first cross to Georgie Kelly, that is unreal from Jack Ellis. And look, I'm not going to pretend like he had a completely flawless game, because he made some poor passes. He didn't have a perfect game, but 2 assists is 2 assists. And from right back, you've got to be impressed by that. And he's always had a good pass in his locker. He doesn't always get it right, but he's always got a good cross on him. And obviously the second ball, I think he kind of just put it into, he kind of just lumped it further into the box. Terrell Thomas did brilliantly from it and scored. But I want to talk about Georgie Kelly. And I want to talk about the fact that I've slated him a lot for being injured. And I don't take that back. I still stand by that. He's scored 3 goals in the 18 months we've had him. He's averaging a goal every 6 months, which obviously isn't acceptable. But if we're going to get a striker coming to a mad amount of form, if we're going to get a striker that's going to all of a sudden turn fantastic, I'd much rather it was now that we kind of need it. Well, to be honest, I'd much rather it was about 4 weeks ago, when we kind of had more of a chance of staying up. But, if he can pull off some unbelievable strikes or have an absolute worldie in the game against Port Vale, and we somehow win that game 1-0 or 2-0 or 2-1 or something like that, then look, I'm not going to say all will be forgiven, because I do think we've wasted a lot of money on him, regardless of how he ends the season. But it just shows that there is something in there, that there is a good player in there, and if he can keep himself fit, and that, look, I've never doubted that Georgie Kelly was a good player. I just think the best ability is availability, and he isn't available for most of the season. But if he can keep us in the league almost single-handedly this season, then it almost kind of becomes worth it. It's still a very poor signing, I think, because ultimately he's been injured for the vast majority of his contract, and he was injured when we signed him. But yeah, I hope he can kind of, not prove me wrong, but I hope he can kind of make me see that there is some quality there, and really put in some fantastic performances coming towards the end of the season, and I hope that happens. I really do. But yeah, it's a good result today. Hopefully it's not too late. I'd love this to go down to the final game of the season. Can you imagine? Can you imagine this going down to the final game of the season? I'd absolutely love it, especially against Salford, who I think we beat this season already. We haven't had many wins, so I should be able to remember it. I was also looking at the tables, and the tables of the past. I said earlier on in the season that we might see a record low amount of points keeping a team up in this division. It's now not going to be the case. It's now, last season, 43 points would have kept you up in League 2. That's what Accrington are on now, and they're in the relegation battle. 4 games left of the season. We're going to need quite a high points total to stay up this season. 43 points is definitely achievable for us, but that doesn't keep you up this season. I honestly think we need to win 3 of our last 4, which obviously isn't impossible. But look, we've shown some fight in the last couple of games, which, can I get this straight? We should have been showing that for the entirety of this season. With the players we have and the money they're on, we shouldn't be in this position in the first place. But now that we're in it, let's just try and get out of it. Let's just try and do our best to fight our way out of it. I don't think there's enough time left. But if there is, and if there is a small chance, let's just try and make ourselves there for it. If we put in some fantastic performances, maybe we still don't even stay up. But at the very least, make sure that we do all we can in these last 4 games. Make sure that if we go down from this point, there's nothing we could have done about it in these final 4 games. That we've done all we can in the last 4, and that results elsewhere haven't gone our way, and that we go down. If we're going to go down, I'd rather we went out that way than get battered by Port Vale, maybe draw to Accrington Stanley, and then Cheltenham and Salford are kind of null and void. That's what I don't want to see. I want to see us take this to the final game of the season. I want to see us show some fight. I want to get a jammy result against Port Vale next week, or on Friday. Let's just see what we can do. It's given me a little bit of hope. I still think there's far too much to do, but I honestly thought we'd be down by this point, at one point of the season. So if we're just going to delay the inevitable, let's delay it as long as we can. And that's where I'll leave it. A fantastic away end as well, by the way, today. I thought the away end was fantastic. I was in it. I was at the very back, and it was a great atmosphere, and it's nice to have the fans celebrating something, and back-to-back wins. And I almost loved more the celebration when Amari Patrick got that equaliser over in the Tranmere game. As people were walking out of the stadium, that was almost just as good as the goals we scored. But yeah, fantastic away day, fantastic away end. Just a good moment in a very bad season. I'll end it at that. So let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and in a bit.